don't we have it good here in the United States that we don't have, or that we have the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, and our politicians less stupid generally than ones overseas, or at least less determined to create their perfect society. That always goes well. I've said it before, I did a segment on this a couple weeks ago. Great Britain, other kind of Anglosphere nations that have adopted a parliamentary system with no written constitution, no guarantees, they have a problem staying in their lane. The whole freedom of speech thing is long gone. Case in point, retired pastor faces criminal charges for preaching gospel sermon near Northern Ireland hospital. He gave the sermon within an abortion buffer zone. Okay? This, again, Northern Ireland, so this is ruled by Great Britain. Retired UK pastor will stand trial today, is facing criminal charges for preaching a gospel sermon inside a protected abortion buffer zone. Clive Johnson, 76, faces 2 charges under Northern Ireland's Abortion Services Safe Access Zones Act for conducting a religious service based on John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son. That one. Prosecutors accused Johnston of influencing a protected person, whether directly or indirectly, by conducting a protest. He's also accused of failing to leave the zone when directed. The law bans anti-abortion protests and other behaviors within a buffer spanning 100 to 250 meters from each entrance or exit of an abortion provider. According to the nonprofit supporting his defense, he did not mention abortion, and no anti-abortion signs were present. This kind of gives the game away, doesn't it? I mean, to be honest, when I was younger, I was a little shocked because I grew up in a Swedish Baptist church, not a Southern Baptist church, a Swedish Baptist church, and fairly conservative theologically and all that jazz. And frankly, I didn't have to be religious to be anti-abortion. You know, the science is clear. That's a human being. But I was shocked a little later in life, a few years later, to encounter a politician, actually, who, we just got back from church and, we support abortion. For all night, it's like, you went to a church and you support abortion. They exist. Maybe they don't exist so much in Britain. Maybe, the mainline churches here nowadays. I mean, you've got the Clintons are famous for, we go to a church where abortion's great. We celebrate abortion. And you see videos of these online all the time. But to merely assume because you're a Christian, that means you're anti-abortion, that kind of gives the game away, doesn't it? That seems to be like, okay, it's satanic is what it is. So he's facing trial. You've probably seen her before, but Christian woman's criminally charged for standing silently praying. Again, this is Isabel Von Spruce. You've probably seen her before. I've mentioned her before. This is an older picture of her. And here is the West Midlands Police, little fascist. We will not have you praying outside. We will not have you closing your eyes. Someone might think that you don't approve what's going on at this abortion clinic. Let's take a look at him.
How am I breaching the safety zone?
We've informed you, haven't we?
How am I breaching the safety zone?
We've informed you, haven't we, that your
No, you haven't. You haven't told me how I've broken it.
Breach, and we're asking if you could move away, just to prevent.
There's lots of people present inside this zone. People are allowed to be present inside the zone.
You are allowed to walk through the zone, yes, but to be stood directly outside.
That isn't breaching anything, no.
That's your opinion, isn't it?
That's your opinion, isn't it? Um, yeah, this and she's had charges dismissed against her before, but again, the processes of punishment in the United States is a little reminiscent of what the baker in Colorado has had to go through after they charged it. Oh, you wouldn't make a custom cake for a gay couple. Oh, you must be punished. That's who they go after. Another one came up today. Twitter user jailed for 18 months for 2 anti-immigration tweets made after a Christmas market car attack. So, Islamists attacked a Christmas market, killed some people, viewed just 33 times. 33 people saw his tweet. And he's going to go to prison for 18 months. His posts were reported to police by Yarwood's own brother-in-law, who he did not get on with. Well, I mean, this is what they do. We will not have you saying things we do not like. Thank God for the First Amendment. Let's go. This segues into the response to the Bondi Beach Hanukkah attack. Let's hear what the Premier of New South Wales, the equivalent of the governor, had to say about what he's proposing they do in the wake of this horrific attack.
I'm also here to report that on the 22nd and 23rd of December, the government will call back the New South Wales Parliament to deal with urgent legislation that we believe is required pre-Christmas to keep the community safe and ensure there's unambiguous laws in place when it comes to public safety. Firstly, in relation to firearms legislation in the state, we are proposing a bill which hasn't been finally drafted, but we will share with the opposition as soon as possible, to cap the number of firearms, to reclassify straight pull-up and pump-action shotguns, to look at reducing magazine capacity for shotguns, for prohibiting belt-fed magazines in those shotguns, and crucially removing NCAT as an appeal mechanism once a designation has been made about withdrawing a licence from the registered authority. I also want to say today that I am firmly of the view, having spoken with many community members, not just from the Jewish community, but right across Sydney, that protests right now in Sydney would be incredibly terrible for our community. In fact, they would rip apart our community, particularly protests about international events. I completely understand that there are people concerned about what's happening overseas, and of course they've got every right to be concerned, but my worry is about what's happening in Sydney right now. We'll look at, my concern is that a mass demonstration in this combustible situation with our multicultural community could light a flame that would be impossible to extinguish. So we're looking at reforms whereby when there is a terrorism designation in the state, the police commissioner may not accept applications for protests on the grounds that it will both stretch police resources and, secondly, add to community disharmony and, as a result, a combustible situation in the state.
Now, an important thing to note here is that this is what it takes for them to get to be concerned about protests. The Jews might protest how they've been treated the past few years, or how they have not been protected the past few years. So we're just going to cancel all protests. I'll get to it in a minute, but we'll take a look at what sort of protests they've allowed and what they've allowed to go on when it's targeted at, frankly, the Jews. But he did make one comment in there when they were going on his little rant about, we're going to prevent certain things. We're going to limit magazine capacity. We're going to take away appeals process when we want to revoke your gun permit, gun ownership permit. It's not a carry permit around there. Carrying's no. Belt-fed shotguns. Belt-fed mag. I had never heard of such a thing. I follow firearms. I generally know stuff about firearms. Belt-fed firearms? Well, belt-fed shotguns? I mean, I've seen ones that are like, little 22s. I've seen ones that, do rifles. I have never seen a belt-fed shotgun. So I went looking for it. Is there a, major, does Smith & Wesson or Benelli or, do any of these companies do a belt-fed shotgun? The answer is no. Do they exist? Apparently so. Let's take a look.
Got it. Got it.
So by my count, that's probably 25. I didn't count. There's let's say it's 30 rounds. It misfed 3 times. Other things to note on this. That thing is mounted to a post. It kind of has to be mounted to a post because belt fed, you've got to feed those, that needs to feed in straight. Otherwise you get even more problems with it chambering properly. But no one's carrying that around. This is a homemade jerry-rigged, one-of-a-kind shotgun. You're not carrying this thing, you're not wielding it like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Predator or something. This is what you're worried about. It's like this tells you, that not only are they not firearms savvy, they don't know anyone who's firearms. With belt-fed shotgun, seriously? No, sit down. So what else is happening over there in Australia? Well, Jewish bagel shop owner says he's shutting down his shop. Those look like good bagels. I am disappointed. Avner's Bakery, run by Jewish celebrity chef Ed Halmagi. I don't know what makes a chef a celebrity anymore. Is closing his shop. It's no longer possible to make outwardly, publicly, proudly Jewish places and events safe in Australia. After 2 years of almost ceaseless anti-Semitic harassment, vandalism, and intimidation directed at our little bakery, we have to be realistic about the threats that exist going forwards. Congratulations. You haven't been protecting Jews. You have not, Australia. It's like, now that 15 of them or 16 of them got killed, 40 some wounded, some seriously. That death count could rise still. Great job, Australian politicians. You've imported this mess, and people point out, Jews were among the very first. I realize it's a penal colony, but the founding and whatnot. They've been there longer than the vast majority of these recent Muslim immigrants that you've brought in, and they're not killing other ethnic groups or religious groups. Go figure. This is the sort of thing we get. Babylon Bee. This is the first of a few this episode. To halt violence against Jews, Australia bans Hanukkah. Again, Babylon Bee, it's satire. To stem the growing tide of violence against its Jewish citizens, the Australian government has moved to officially ban the celebration of Hanukkah. Prime Minister Albanese made the announcement in the wake of Islamic attacks on a public Hanukkah celebration, which Albanese believes prompted the killings. If Jews were not celebrating Hanukkah, this tragedy could have been prevented, he said Albanese. Some people don't want to blame Hanukkah, but let me ask you, did people get shot anywhere else except at the Hanukkah celebration? No. This is because of Hanukkah. How many lives do we have to lose because of Hanukkah before we act? There's more. The link to the whole thing will be in the dump, the link dump in the show notes on Substack and on YouTube. But this is kind of the attitude you get. I mean, it's satire because, frankly, it's kind of believable. Because what have they done? There's going to be no public protest going forward. Is carrying a menorah around a public protest? Could be seen that way if you want to see it that way. Notably, Albanese, the President of Australia, Prime Minister of Australia, has recognized a Palestinian state. That didn't save Jews in his country from being mowed down. He rewarded the attack on Israel, basically. I mean, and Canada did it too. There's a bunch of other states, Ireland, who did it. You're rewarding terrorism. You're rewarding terrorism. No surprise there. Thanks for watching this clip from the Hoystory On Air broadcast. I encourage you to follow me on Substack, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. I want to thank you for your support, and please feel free to watch another video or 2 or 3.